The latest episode of General Hospital delivered a high-stakes confrontation in the intensive care unit, centering on the unconscious WSB director Ross Cullum, Dr. Britt Westbourne, Lulu Spencer, and Jocelyn Jacks. Following the fatal stabbing of Marco Rios and the subsequent arrest of Jason Morgan, Britt prepared a lethal injection intended for Cullum's IV line. This assassination attempt was interrupted by Lulu, who arrived under the guise of journalistic inquiry, but was secretly motivated by her son Rocco Falconeri's involvement in Cullum's shooting. During the distraction at the nurse's station, Jocelyn, utilizing her recent WSB recruitment training, infiltrated the room to assess the situation. The episode concluded with a massive cliffhanger, as Ross Cullum suddenly opened his eyes while Jocelyn stood directly over his hospital bed. And I just have to say, my jaw is completely on the floor right now because I cannot believe they actually went there with Jocelyn Jacks. I've been watching this show for years, and we have seen Jocelyn grow up, we have seen her make mistakes, we have seen her act entitled, but this is a completely different level of dark, and I am honestly shaking just thinking about the implications. Can we talk about this? Because Jocelyn literally stood in that hospital room and volunteered to execute a man. She looked Britt Westbourne dead in the eye and framed cold-blooded murder as a greater good duty. This isn't just Carly's daughter acting out anymore. This is a fully weaponized WSB agent who has internalized the absolute worst parts of the espionage world. I mean, we all knew Jack Brennan recruiting her was going to lead to trouble, but I don't think any of us expected her to become an icy assassin willing to put down a federal director in a hospital bed without even blinking. But wait, I need to back up and talk about Britt first, because my heart is absolutely breaking for her. Britt has lost everything in the span of a few days. Marco Rios is dead. Marco literally bled out on Alexis Davis's law office floor because he was trying to steal Britt's Huntington's disease medication from Jen Sidwell's safe. He lost his life for her. And if that wasn't enough guilt to carry, Jason Morgan, the man who was supposed to be her ticket to Canada, her protector, her partner in this escape plan, is currently sitting in some horrific WSB black site because he took the fall for Cullum's shooting. Britt knows Jason didn't shoot Cullum. Britt knows Jason is sacrificing his own freedom, and she is carrying the weight of all of this. So when she walked into that ICU room with that syringe, you could see the absolute desperation radiating off of her. She wasn't doing it because she's a cold-blooded killer. She was doing it because she felt it was her ultimate responsibility to end the nightmare that has consumed everyone she cares about. And the tension in that scene with the syringe. I was literally screaming at my television screen. Britt is standing there, holding this needle, looking at the IV line of the man who smashed her medication vials under his shoe, the man who tried to shoot her on Pier 55, the man who murdered Marco in cold blood. She is seconds away from ending Ross Cullum permanently. She is seconds away from crossing a line that she can never, ever come back from as a doctor. And then, in walks Lulu Spencer. I'm sorry, but the irony of this interruption is almost too much to handle. Lulu comes marching into the ICU, claiming she's working on a story for the Port Charles Press about the Pier 55 incident. But we all know the truth. We know that Lulu is terrified out of her mind because her teenage son Rocco Falconeri is the one who actually pulled the trigger and put that bullet in Cullum's back. Lulu is running around Port Charles trying to do damage control, trying to figure out what Cullum knows, and in doing so, she accidentally interrupts the one thing that could have solved all of her problems. If Lulu had just waited 2 more minutes, Britt would have pushed that plunger, Cullum would have flatlined, and Rocco's secret would have been safe forever. But no, Lulu has to play investigative journalist. She startles Britt, forces her to cap the syringe, and drags her out to the hub to demand a statement. It is classic Lulu Spencer timing, and it is infuriating but also brilliant soap opera writing. The sheer dramatic irony of a mother unknowingly saving the life of the man who could destroy her son's future is just chef's kiss. I know some people are annoyed with Lulu right now, but you have to admit, the stakes have never been higher for her family. So Britt is out at the hub, dealing with Lulu's relentless questions, and that is when Jocelyn makes her move. Because Jocelyn Jacks does not wait. She had been hovering nearby, watching this entire scenario unfold, and when she saw her opening, she slipped right into that ICU room. I mean, the stealth. The absolute audacity. She walks in and stands right next to his bed, looking at the IV line, trying to figure out if Britt managed to inject the fatal dose before Lulu interrupted. She is standing over the body of a man who is the center of a massive international conspiracy. A man who carries Faison's novel in his jacket, who smokes Faison's cigarillos, who is deeply tied to the cold fusion project that has ruined so many lives. And Jocelyn is just standing there, calculating, evaluating, acting like a seasoned operative. And then he opens his eyes. Ross Cullum is awake. I literally jumped off my couch. The man is awake, he has a breathing tube in his throat, and he is staring right at Jocelyn Jax. This is the most dangerous 60 seconds of Jocelyn's entire life, and Port Charles is never going to be the same. What is going through Cullum's mind right now? Does he recognize her? He has been highly suspicious of Jack Brennan for weeks. He literally accused Brennan of protecting Jason and Britt out of loyalty to Carly. If Cullum's brain is functioning properly, he might put 2 and 2 together. He might realize that Carly's daughter is standing over his bed, and if he figures out that Jocelyn is WSB, the entire cover is blown. Brennan is exposed, Jocelyn is exposed. Everyone connected to this operation is going to be targeted by the agency. But here is the real question. Does Jocelyn finish the job? She offered to do it just minutes ago. She looked Britt in the eye and said she had the training to take out an agent for the greater good. Britt's syringe might still be sitting on a tray somewhere in that room, but it is one thing to talk a big game about assassinating an unconscious patient, and it is an entirely different reality to kill a man who is looking you directly in the eyes. Is Jocelyn really capable of murder? Is she truly her mother's daughter, mixed with the lethal precision of the WSB? Or is this the moment that breaks her? I honestly don't know, and it is driving me crazy. Because if she hesitates, if she freezes, Cullum has the upper hand the second that breathing tube comes out. And what if Cullum knows the truth? What if the first words out of his mouth aren't about Jocelyn, but about the shooting? Everyone assumes Cullum didn't see who shot him because he was shot in the back. But what if there was a reflection? What if he caught a glimpse of Rocco Falconeri before he went down? Jason Morgan threw his entire life away to protect that kid. Jason headbutted Dante, got himself arrested, and allowed Brennan to extradite him to a hellish WSB black site where he might never see the light of day again, all to keep Rocco out of federal prison. If Cullum wakes up and points the finger at Rocco anyway, Jason's sacrifice was for absolutely nothing. The tragedy of that is almost too much to bear. Jason is sitting in a cell right now, completely cut off from Danny, from Carly, from Sonny, thinking he saved Dante and Lulu's kid. If Cullum ruins that, I am going to scream. Speaking of Carly, her confrontation with Jack Brennan was absolutely gut-wrenching. Carly is tearing into Brennan, demanding answers, and Brennan, who is usually so stoic and in control, actually looked terrified. He admitted he doesn't know exactly where Jason is. He admitted the conditions are probably horrific. You can see the guilt eating away at him, and Carly's devastation is so palpable. She is losing her mind trying to figure out how to save Jason, completely unaware that her own daughter is currently standing in a hospital room contemplating murder to solve the same problem. The parallel between Carly's desperation and Jocelyn's dark turn is phenomenal storytelling. They are both willing to cross any line for the people they love, but Jocelyn is doing it with a cold, calculated precision that even Carly doesn't possess. And we cannot forget about Lucas Jones in all of this. Lucas is grieving Marco, promising that Marco didn't die in vain. And the sickest, most twisted part of this entire storyline is that Lucas is the surgeon who saved Ross Cullum's life. Lucas was in Trauma 1, desperately working on a flatlining Cullum, refusing to let him die, screaming that he wasn't going to lose this patient. Lucas saved the man who brutally stabbed his boyfriend to death. When Lucas finds out the truth, it is going to destroy him. The psychological trauma of knowing your medical expertise kept your lover's killer alive is Shakespearean levels of tragedy. I am so worried for Lucas's safety right now, because if Cullum gets out of that bed, no one is safe. So what happens next? Jocelyn is alone in that room. Cullum is awake. Britt is distracted by Lulu at the hub. The clock is ticking. Jocelyn has to make a split-second decision that will define the rest of her character's life. If she kills him, she becomes a murderer, fully crossing over into the dark side of the WSB. If she lets him live, She risks him exposing Rocco, exposing Brennan, and sending Jason to a permanent grave in a black site. I have been watching General Hospital for over a decade, and I cannot remember a time when a single scene held so much weight for so many different legacy characters. Every single plotline from Phazon's Cold Fusion project to Jason's freedom to Rocco's innocence is currently resting on Jocelyn Jack's shoulders in that ICU room. I am terrified, I am exhilarated, and I absolutely cannot wait for tomorrow's episode. They better not cut away to a commercial break before she makes her move.